Hey there. Thank you for being here for a new Business of Fun podcast. Today's is a little special, a little different. It is the audio recording of the Strategy 101 webinar that I did actually earlier today as I'm recording this. I've been working on creating a strategy class, which is kind of the strategy class that I hoped to get when I was learning strategy in college. So I'm doing a few webinars like this with some of the ideas and things I'm learning. This one's like foundational stuff. Really the bare bones basics of strategy from my point of view. It goes about 25 or 30 minutes. I can share the slideshow with you, so if you send me an email, dave@davewakeman.com. I'm happy to give you that. Do me a solid. Share this with somebody that you think will benefit from the Strategy 101. If they aren't signed up for the newsletter, the Business of Fun, or that's the podcast, or the newsletter, the Business of Value, or Talking Tickets, send them to my website, davewakeman.com. Send me an email, dave@davewakeman.com, and let me know what you thought of this audio recording of the webinar, along with any questions or things that you might be thinking about. And I'm going to try to do a few more of these because it's a nice way to get some questions and some feedback and allow people to engage with me and themselves a little bit differently. But don't need a long introduction on this. This is the audio recording of Strategy 101. Know that you can raise your hands at any time. You can leave a comment in the chat box, whatever works best for you. Can everybody, by a show of hands in the chat box, do you have the ability to see my screen? Are you seeing the Strategy 101 slide deck? Just let me know by perfect. All right, thank you, Todd. All right, so we're going to start today is Strategy 101. I'm going to talk for about 20 or 25 minutes, hopefully no more than that. I'm Dave Wakeman. Thank you for finding me however you have found me. This is kind of something I'm going to try to do from time to time as I build this class. Also, it's just a great way to connect with people because I do the Business of Value newsletter. I do a podcast. I do a couple different things that people can find me through. So I just want to give people another chance to tell me what's working for them, what they're struggling with, and find a way for people to learn from me. So Strategy 101, and what we're going to talk about today. I have 7 ideas for you. They're foundational strategy ideas. This is going to be just kind of a jumping off point for some of the more intricate ideas. One of the reasons I call it the Strategy 101, these 7 big ideas are foundational strategic ideas, is because a lot of times the strategy education people get is not that great. Can be confusing. I find that the way people use strategy undermines the value and the importance of strategy for a lot of people. So I want to teach people a baseline for strategy so that they can make better decisions about the directions of their business, the directions of their career, the directions of nonprofit organizations, if that's what they're a part of. The big thing about these is I want to hopefully make them so they are actionable for you, because strategy without action is nothing but a wish list. So without anything else, just let me check the notes here real quick and see if anybody has any questions. Oh, Stuart's adding some notes as well. Perfect, great. Maybe we can trade notes at the end of this. I'm going to jump on to the next slide, which is my framework. I think anybody who has read my newsletter, listened to my podcast, heard me speak at any point, understands and knows that I am very big on the framework for strategy. Not because I want it to be restrictive, but because I want you to just have a coat hanger to hang your ideas on, so you can always understand where you are in the strategic thinking process. So you can look at your strategy and ask where things are strong or things are weak. The framework should give you freedom. It should not constrain you. So the first question, most important question in my view, is what does success look like? You can talk about vision. You can talk about mission. You can talk about ambition. I frame it as what does success look like? And really what that means for me when I am talking to students or I am talking with clients is I want people to understand if they set this strategy, if they do the work and they are successful, at the end of this project or period, how are they going to know that they've hit the mark? Right? How can they explain it to somebody in a way so that if they had no relation to the project, no relation to the business, no relation to any of the goals or ambitions, they would say, yes, that looks successful. So the foundation, the baseline starting point for a good strategy is what does success look like? Because to quote Lewis Carroll, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. So the second question in the framework is, who is your customer? This one can create a lot of consternation for people. And the reason is because in too many cases, people haven't thought about their product market fit. People maybe haven't spent enough time on thinking through exactly who they're selling to, what the value proposition is. And we're going to get the value proposition in just a moment. But most of the time, people want to think about their customer as they can serve everybody. And you can't really serve everybody without focusing on someone. A great example of understanding how to target a specific customer set in a way that opens the door for larger market share, even outside of your target, are those old Apple commercials, the Mac versus PC commercials, where the Mac was young and hip and modern, and PC was old and stilted and stale. The reason it's good and the reason it's relevant for the framework is the explicit nature of Apple saying, look, we are young, hip, and fun. Everybody, or almost everybody, wants to see themselves as young, hip, and fun, see themselves as trendy and on brand. So by targeting a specific segment of the market, in this case, young, hip, fun, tech-savvy people, they were able to catch people who didn't want to see themselves as old and stuffy. They probably even built up a little bit of a barrier against Microsoft by making them seem older, stuffier, out of date. And it allowed them to capture those people because when people started reflecting on it, they didn't want to be old and stuffy and out of date. They wanted to be modern and new and tech savvy. For you need to know who your customer is because you need to understand how to talk specifically to a certain segment of the market. It doesn't mean elimination, but it does mean that you pick a point of view. And that's why the third one is so important, which is why you. You may frame it as your value proposition. You can frame it as your unique selling value. You can frame it as the unique selling proposition. You can frame it however you want to. But the important thing is that you understand why someone is picking you, why someone is working with you over anybody else. This is another area where I see a lot of challenges when I'm working with businesses or I'm talking to students, even talking to friends. Most of the time, people are just tagging on to what the other industry leaders are doing, to other people in their circle or that they feel are in their competitive set are doing, and it creates an environment where there's a lot of me too, right? I can, get you from zero using cars. I can get you from 0 to 60 in under 4 seconds. Me too. I can help you generate 1,000 documents a minute. Me too. I can help you reach more of your target customers. Me too. Right? Why specifically are you going to be a better option than all these other products or services that do somewhat similar or even exactly similar things to you? In the world of strategy and marketing and branding, I still use it. My tagline has always been focused, effective, and profitable. And why does that matter? It's because so many of these strategy and marketing people that you run into, either with big businesses or small, don't talk about profit. They talk about all of these kind of meaningless, esoteric KPIs. I talk about what does success look like? Focused. Effective is because we can measure everything, because we understand what's going to move the chains for you and what's not. And profitable because I talk about how we're going to make money. That's created the difference, because when you're talking about start with your why, and we're going to create 100 pieces of content a day, or you need this Facebook ad strategy, right? It's different when somebody says, well, what does success look like? Who are we trying to reach? Why are they going to pick us? You know, set some goals around this that are going to drive profit, drive market share, drive you towards that vision of success. It makes a big difference. And that's been a way that I have been standing out and use the why you statement for myself. But I would challenge all of you to do that. Think about why people are picking you over all the other options that they can deal with. Number 4 is, what resources do you need, right? One of the big failures for strategy is when you approach a strategy, you have a great vision. You know what success is going to look like. You can see how awesome it's going to be for you. You know who your target customer is. You can see the overlaps. You even have differentiated yourself, but you don't have the resources to make change happen. So you need to understand realistically how many resources it will take to hit your goals. Got to have the resources, right? You can't just say, oh, well, if we had everything we needed, we could, grow our business 25% in the next quarter. We don't have those, but we're still going to get to that 25%, aren't we? And everybody kind of nods their heads and agrees, even though you don't have those resources available. You have to be realistic about your resources, or you're setting yourself up for failure. And the number 5 question is, what actions are you going to take? Because strategy without action is just navel gazing. So you need to understand what actions you're going to take. When I do the whiteboard workshop with people, maybe the most important thing that I do with everyone is I have a 90-day follow-up plan, right? We say, over the next 90 days, what 3 or 5 actions are you going to do? I'm going to follow up with you on 30, 60, and 90 days to see where we're at. Have we achieved our goals? If not, what's standing in our way? In 30 days, maybe we've hit all our goals because we've focused for the first time ever. So let's reset our gaze and look farther afield. So what actions are you going to take is very important, because strategy without action is meaningless. It's just a plan. It's even worse. It's delusion. Everybody cool so far? Let me check the chat area. All right, then let's move on to slide number 2. So strategy is not planning. Goes along with the framework, but planning is often procrastination. I think I read a lot now about people talk about, well, don't read just one more book because you don't need more ideas. You need to read a book or get an idea and take action. It's the same thing with strategy. Planning is a staff. It is a way for you to look like you're moving yourself in a strategic direction without actually doing the work. I call it always navel gazing, and people kind of gets people's dander up, as I think we would say in the South. It's a form of putting off the work. Strategy isn't planning. Strategy is about action, and it really is a form of focused action, right? I like to talk about strategy as being concentrated thinking. If you're going to think about strategy, you need to follow the framework, and it always has to lead to action. And it really, at the end of it, is about making a choice about what you're going to do, but more importantly, about what you're not going to do, being focused on those tasks that you're going to do, and then taking consistent action. CFA, choice, focus, action. So strategy is about action. And then a planning session really just often never ends, right? Be careful of thinking that planning is strategy. Planning can be important. I'm not necessarily sure it's always important, but planning often never ends. I have sat on organizations where The foundation of what the strategic initiative is we're going to undergo a 6-month planning session to uncover challenges and issues and understand what has gone wrong. And my bias is always like, if you are sitting here and you're telling me you already know that you're looking for things that have gone wrong, I believe you already know what has gone wrong. And your strategy may not necessarily be served by fixing the things that went wrong. You'd be better off by focusing on what you're going to do right to move yourself forward in the future. So I find that most of the time a planning session is just a way to avoid taking the realistic focus on the future and looking at, we've made these things, we are where we are because of the strategic decisions that we've made in the past, which may or may not have had a clear and consistent direction. But we're going to go back and revisit those instead of focusing on going forward, because what I can always guarantee is that 6 months down the road, you're just 6 months longer without a strategy, right? It's not that you don't look backwards and you don't finish what has been going wrong, or eliminate programs or quit products. You just stop pretending that you're just going to go and solve all those problems. Problem solving is a commodity. Strategy is a real difference maker. Everybody, any questions so far? Let's see here. All right, very good. Okay, so strategy is about elimination. I especially like this one because what I often, when I talk to especially younger entrepreneurs or students, they always are buzzing with ideas. And it's great, right? You need new ideas to be able to create the future, to find new value, to change an industry or create a new product or offer a new solution. You need these ideas. But the challenge is that you can't be everything to everyone. And oftentimes what happens when I'm talking to people is the ideas are cover for a lack of clarity. Again, I think I talk about clarity a lot when it comes to strategy because it's easy, not hard. It's hard to be clear. It's easy to get distracted by the shiny and new. It's easy to become distracted by just this one new thing or this new tool, this new piece of technology, this new potential collaboration, whatever it happens to be. For a business, you have to be, and for your career, you can't be everything to everyone. I have fallen into this trap from time to time. I was out having dinner on Monday night with a friend, and I told him, I said, I have to be careful of this. This is something that I do. I have to make sure that I be really focused, and narrowing my focus down to strategy and how you can create and capture new profitable ideas has helped me, not only when it comes to talking with potential partners or clients, but also in the way I see the world, in the way that I create products, webinars, podcasts, newsletters, offer ideas. It helps me. And my thinking about strategy is that it can help everyone, because in too many cases, we try to be everything to everyone. We try to do too many things at once. And what that does is it confuses people. It makes your potential partners, your potential clients go, well, this is great, but I don't know if that's really what Dave does all the time. So you want to create clarity for the way your business presents itself to the world. And that means you really can't be everything to everyone. It much with like targeting a market segment, it doesn't mean that you're always saying no. It means that people are finding you because of that one thing that you stand out about, not necessarily because you're saying I can do anything. It's because you're saying I do this. And then they go, how does that impact this part of my business or this part of my situation or this part of my career? And so it opens up the door because you are very specific about what you do. In marketing, we teach people about the idea of carryover or overlap into different segments. And so being really focused helps you take advantage of that carryover or overlap, so that people who might not necessarily be your primary targets still find their way to you because of the power of the clarity of your vision. Strategy is also about elimination because you have limited resources. This is a huge one because, again, at the end of our strategy framework, I talk about the resources we have. And I've talked about how many people I've encountered over the years who they have a great vision. They understand exactly what success is going to look like. They know who their target market is. They understand with full clarity why people are picking them over someone else. But then they don't have the resources to make this vision a reality. We all have limited resources. We all have 24 hours in the day. Some of us have big marketing budgets. Some of us don't. Some of us have a lot of people that we could dedicate to a task. Some of us don't have a lot of people that we can dedicate to these tasks. We all have this unique blend of resources. And so because we don't have a magic wand that means that we can do everything all at once all the time, we are limited in our resources. And so strategy means that we need to eliminate things so that we can use the resources we have available most effectively to drive us forward. It doesn't mean you don't come back to things. It doesn't mean that you are always turning your back on something. It just means that in the short term, you have to apply your resources in the way that is going to move you forward the fastest. That's all this means. And never forget, you can always run the danger of becoming unfocused. Again, I have to pull myself back a lot of times. I'll use myself as an example. It is easy to become unfocused. Think about a good example right now, only because there's about 4 or 5 different, maybe more, products here on my desk, is Apple. Before Steve Jobs took over, the Apple product line may have been 15 or 20 different products, all of them kind of attached to the Apple name, but none of them consistent with any sort of Apple vision. And then Steve Jobs made a big, told the story many times about how he cut down to 4 products. Another example could be a car dealership, mass market car dealership that has a minivan, has a pickup truck, has 4 or 5 different mid-size sedans, has a couple small sedans, has a lot of like larger luxury sedans for that are a little bit bigger, a little bit nicer. Maybe has a mid-size SUV. Has 8, 10, 12 different product categories. You can't tell me that any one of them is probably great because they're just too unfocused. Whereas you take a car dealer such as BMW, they're tailored towards performance. You take Tesla's product mix, one luxury sedan, one midsize sedan, one large SUV, one midsize XUV, and whatever the hell the Cybertruck is, right? Very focused and all around electrification and performance. Okay, so you have to be careful about running afoul of becoming unfocused. Everybody cool so far? I am about 20 minutes into this. I am doing a great job of making sure that I stay on time here. So the next step is we don't have time for a strategy. This is a danger that people encounter. And it's pretty easy to fall in love with the idea that we don't have time for strategy because it often means that we just don't want to focus. The truth is everybody has time for a strategy because if you don't do strategy now, you're wasting your resources, you're wasting your energy. It's a lot like planning where it feels good to be having forward motion. But if it's not focused forward motion, is it really forward motion at all? So everyone has time for a strategy. Again, this excuse, we don't have time for a strategy, means that we don't want to think. If you buy my hypothesis that strategy is focused thought, You understand the importance of picking a direction, understanding what success looks like, focusing on a specific part of the market with a specific value statement so that you can take consistent action. When I hear you, we don't have time for a strategy, I know that this is an organization that hasn't gotten clear on who they are, what they want to be to the market they serve, and, is unwilling to make those tough choices. That usually is a clear indication that they are going to continue to struggle. If they have not if they aren't struggling now, then it is usually a leading indicator that they will begin to struggle. And if they are struggling, it's usually a pretty clear indication that they will not start turning around anytime soon. So it usually almost always means we don't want to think. And the most important thing is that you want to keep in mind that if you don't have a strategy, you're always in danger of getting pulled in many different directions. You can't do 8 or 10 things very well all at once. You can do one, two, three, maybe. If you don't have a strategy, a lens through which to see the market and the world and the way your business operates in it, then the danger is you're going to get pulled in many different directions all at once. And it's unfocused. And because it's unfocused, it means that you might feel good because you're doing something, but what you're doing, it has no relation to not reality, because it can very well be real. It just has no relation to moving your business forward in a meaningful manner. Even if you make progress, it can easily be like, well, we grew 3%, but if you'd been focused, you probably could have done 6 to 10%, right? It can become the not having a strategy and throwing the spaghetti against the wall idea can be a salve, especially when you get these subpar of 1 to 2% growth performances. So number 6 here, I believe, is strategy is what you do. It's not what you say. Strategy is always about action. You need to take action for the strategy to be a strategy. A lot of times, the way that I teach people to think about this is that whatever actions you're taking, tell me exactly what your strategy is. So if you are taking action in a way because you want to reach a specific segment of the market, let's say you want to hit minority communities in Southeast DC, or you want to, I'll use an example from a nonprofit I'm on the board of, you want to hit all 8 wards of the District of Columbia. What actions are you taking, right? And then in the case of this nonprofit, it was making sure we got programming into every ward of the district, right? Which covers every quadrant of the district. Those are actions. Think about something as simple as my favorite team, which if you can see my shirt, is the Tottenham Hotspur. A lot of times for many years, they were unfocused and the team was a mismatch of different players that fit different manager styles, all pulled in many different ways. They said we're going to change the way we do things. We're going to change the way we do business after we went and did a review, which, again, I don't know if they really needed to do the review. It was kind of obvious that they didn't have a strategy to begin with. They did it, and now all of their actions are focused because the playing style is attacking based on speed and youth and bravery. All the players are fast and young and brave. Action. Strategy is about action. So one thing I did make a slide for that before I get to this last one here is I want to talk to you about context. So context matters in your strategic decisions because every business, every person, every career is different. So you want to make strategic decisions that are within the context. The Tottenham Hotspur example is pretty good because they were trying to make themselves, it seemed like, a lesser, cheaper run version of Chelsea, who would just bring in any star player, any star manager, cost be damned, and create a team. but the context of their environment was different, right? To dare is to do is the motto. Uh, their position in the community is like it's a working class community, probably even lesser than working class, a poor community. They are a part of that community. They have been working to help build and stabilize that community. So trying to be Chelsea, which is a nicer part of town, with a bigger money fan base, it's different. It doesn't work. Context, right? You need to know what is the world that I'm operating in. You know, for me, the context of strategy is often, I understand that the market in America, competition has not necessarily have been something that has been encouraged, right? We've had a lot of consolidation in many markets around America. And so that meant that strategy and competition has often been a little bit more challenging of a sale to sell into businesses, because competition hasn't necessarily been as important because there hasn't been as much competition. Therefore, I have often looked outside of the US for opportunities. Why? Because competition is more common, is more prevalent. Finding your way as a foreign company into an American market has been a bigger deal. So competition has been much more, for me, focused outside of America. The context is the king. The context is the key, because we're not all the same. We aren't all doing the exact same things. So keep in mind that context matters. And one final point on this is that a good idea for you, the opposite of that good idea that you have, could be a great idea for someone else. It doesn't mean just because it doesn't work for you that it's a bad idea. And that's a way that you can kind of judge whether or not you've gotten the context to the strategy right, is saying, if I'm doing this idea and my competition took the opposite idea, could it still be a good idea? It helps give you a little bit more clarity on your strategy and the context that your strategy is taking place in. So the final one here is vision equals stable. And there's a good reason for this. Your vision, which is what the success look like, is going to maintain a little bit of stability. And by stability, I mean you're not going to change the direction you're heading that consistently. You may have to change it. It should be probably something that is worthy of a lot of thought, but it should be fairly stable. Your tactics, on the other hand, are probably likely to change a lot. And the reason this gets its own slide in the basics in the strategy 101 session is because a lot of people feel that if they're changing their tactics all the time and they're changing their vision all the time, then their vision should change with it. And that's not necessarily true. I have a saying that I use regularly called strategy before tactics. The strategy means that you need to understand those three first questions, right? Who, what does success look like? Who is our customer? Why are they going to pick us? The tactics, the resources and the tactics can change a lot. Tactics are short term. You might only use a tactic for 30 days, for 15 days, for 45 days. It could be any reason. While at the same time, your focus is still on being the best solo consultant and most well-known solo consultant in the world. You could use me as that example, right? My vision is there, but my tactics will change, right? Like because I can do something like teach a class, a webinar like this. I can do something like the Fans for Life workshop that I ran in New York. I could do something, like give a keynote. All of them support my vision, but they're all tactics, and they all come and go as I need them to support the ultimate goal of being a more famous and richer version of me. So you want to make sure that your tactics, they're flexible enough to support the vision you create, but the vision has a certain amount of stability. It helps create clarity, right? Again, clarity. You need to be clear on what direction you're going to. What does success look like? Where am I going? How will I know what it is when I get there? Clarity. And then the big thing to remember here is learn, review, apply. When I talk about market research and the importance of research, and especially data versus research, I want you to always spend some time learning from your customers, learning from the market. But you also need to not just stop there, you need to review it. And one way that I tell people to review is make bets on yourself. And by bets on yourself, I mean that you spend a little time guessing what's going to happen before, right? Making a plan or laying down a bet on the decisions and the actions you're taking, so that when you review and learn what's happened, you can apply it in a new or different way. Maybe you thought you were going to take a set of actions that would drive your business 20% forward, and it only did 15%. Why did that happen? What worked, what didn't work? How can we change it? And then you apply this knowledge back into the mix. So you learn, you review, you apply. And the best way to understand that is to kind of always understand what you expect success to look like from a tactic as well as your strategy. All right, so that's the end of the slideshow. Let me know if that's useful for you, if that's helpful for you. I'm going to pop up my thing here so I can see any questions you have in the Q&A, anything in the chat. Does anybody have any questions? Because I don't know if I can. Okay, thank you, Todd. Let me see. And if anybody has questions, I'll see if I can actually turn on the special camera. And because I was putting the slides together at the very last time, I didn't necessarily have the ability to put the how to keep in touch thing slide in the back, but you can always find my website. It's davewakeman.com. So that's www.davewakeman.com. You can email me. It's my name, Dave, at davewakeman.com. I sign up for the newsletters there. The Business of Fun podcast has a lot more stuff about branding and strategy now. It started out with all tickets all the time, and it has evolved. And then Todd asked, can you discuss how you got to this framework? Okay, how did I get to this framework? Okay, so in general, let's see, how do I want to explain how I got to the framework? The framework came out of I think three things. Number one, I saw some patterns that had developed in strategy. The biggest pattern that I saw was that organizations that were struggling, and by struggling, I mean either they were financially underperforming or they kept having a consistent struggle in certain areas, or they were always talking about having a new plan. They all shared a commonality, which was that they didn't seem to have any way of explaining with any meaning what success really looked like. So the foundation became, I need to know what success is going to look like, where you're going. I think Roger Martin called it an ambition. I settled on what does success look like because it was easy for me to explain to people. And somewhere along the line, I think when my son was younger, we were watching or listening to Alice in Wonderland, and it linked up in my head with the saying of no matter if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. And that was the foundation, because I realized that was probably the big key to most strategic failures was people just didn't know what success looked like. So from there, I used my training as a marketer to understand the two most important things about marketing strategy and brand strategy is who are we targeting and what's our position. And I realized that it's the same application when you're dealing with strategy. You can't be everything to everyone. You can't. There are theories in marketing that tell you can target the entire market. I think that you need to be a little bit more focused, and that's why the overlap idea is so good. You have to specifically address a certain part of the market, and then position is something that people throw around all the time, and it's not necessarily always explained very well. So I said, at least for me, I was like, if we can understand why they're going to pick you, that will help you position yourself, because most of the time, product differentiation in the market, when I was studying people, just wasn't there. Everybody was a watered down version of everyone else. And then the fourth, resources and actions, just kind of flowed out of that. And mainly the reason the framework went this way is because I know that most of the time people are so excited to get to the actions that they forget to look and see if they have the resources available to take action. So that's like sort of the way that the framework came about. And I still keep tweaking it and playing with it, but I have not been able to simplify it any further. Todd's typing, so I don't want to. I was going to ask Todd if that was helpful. Back to the how to find me. You can also follow me connect with me on LinkedIn. You can also follow me on the Twitter. You can connect with me, all of these things. I really appreciate you spending some time with me. Send me an email and let me know what worked, what didn't, what you liked about here. How this framework, especially the framework, how the framework can apply to you. Any questions you have about the material. Any gaps in the way I explained it. And I'm going to keep building this thing, and I'll keep inviting people to these sessions. One of the big things about Cedar Mountain is these parts of the class a lot of them will be available publicly. So when I'm doing this is a lot of stuff that I'm going to share just in general, and people will be able to access it. The most important stuff is going to be the practical information, the engagement with the class, some of the projects and everything else. So you're getting a little bit of the behind the scenes magic. So thank you, Todd. This is the clearest explanation of strategy. I appreciate that. That's what I've aimed for. I do a lot of reading and studying of strategy as well, and I find that a lot of it is unwieldy. It's too theoretical, and it's not applicable to the world around us. That with the exception, at least typically being to me, is the work of Roger Martin, especially Playing to Win. That is the best piece of strategy work that I have that I've come across. All right, so if you got any other questions, what I am going to do with this is I am going to download this. I am happy to share it with you. If you want a copy of this, just send me a note and I will send it back to you. And what I'm going to do is also post this to the podcast feed. So it will go out relatively soon as a podcast as well. So thank you. I'm going to try to do some more of these. Also, along with the stuff I'm learning and applying for the course. So if you have ideas or questions, things that you would want to learn more, things that maybe you're curious why they do or don't fit into my model of strategy, just send me a note. It helps me make sure that I'm creating, again, the strategy class that I wish I had when I was a student in college. So thank you so much. I am going to stop sharing and I am going to stop recording, I hope. Maybe I won't. All right. Well, thank you so much. I guess I'll have to hang up on everybody. I'll hopefully see you again soon.
Hey, do me a favor. Let me know what you thought of the recording of the webinar. Send me an email. It's my name, davidwakeman.com. Do me another favor. Share this with someone. Could be because you like all of the episodes I've had with Steve Cook, Angela Maleka, Stephen Glicken. A lot of Steves, I guess. Do that. Share the podcast with them. Point them towards my website, davidwakeman.com, where you can sign up for my newsletters, talking tickets, and the business of value. And do me one more favor. There's 45 minutes into this thing, so I know you dig it. Rate it and review it. Helps me get guests, help me understand how to provide you continued value. Do me that favor. That'd be great. As always, I want to thank you for being here and listening. Thank you for sharing your time with me. Thank you for paying attention. I appreciate it. And I will talk to you again soon. Take it easy.